This week's listing nails the big stuff. Remember, it's the little details that separate a good listing from a powerhouse listing. So let's dig into what works, what doesn't, and what we can use for our own prep to make sure we're maximizing our equity before we sell. I'm Scott Leroux and I'm a listing designer. My job's simple. It's to help agents and sellers unlock equity in their home with strategic design and updates that buyers are going to pay for. If you're a seasoned agent or a homeowner preparing to list your home in the next 12 months, you're in the right place. All right, so the first impression is essential. Looking clean and modern, and that can be attributed to the exterior color palette, which we have this deep green and a deep dusty charcoal trim. That color combination is still going to be a smart update through 2026. This listing does need a couple subtle touches to help it stand out. It needs a pop of color somewhere. I'm going to go for the front door. It needs to be a bright color that contrasts against the deep color palette of the body and trim work. I selected two colors, one a sort of mustard and one a light green, that provide a little bit of joy as soon as you pull up. I already hear the buyer saying, oh, I just can't stop thinking about that one with the gold door. And remember, those little memories are essential to making an impression and ensuring your listing stands out. So as soon as you step in, one thing you might notice is that we have very neutral wall color, trim, and ceiling. Utilizing the same color for your trim, wall, and ceiling is still a very smart decision for mass appeal. Off-white is the way to go through 2026. So an off-white is really going to achieve that. Now remember, we do not want the home to feel dark whatsoever. So keeping it white and bright as possible is important, but not stark. It needs that little bit of milky softness that buyers are craving. And the way you make this work is ensuring that you're using different sheens on the baseboards, the walls, and the ceiling. I always do flat on the ceiling, eggshell or satin on the walls, and semi-gloss on the trim. That variation creates some subtle luxury and interest. Now you might be saying to me, Scott, why are you showing me this house with all this shiplap? I thought shiplap was so over. I'm with you. Shiplap is over. But what I will say, without it in this home, it would have felt incredibly boring. And this adds some needed texture and interest. Another thing to consider is that horizontal shiplap is dated, overdone, don't do it. This vertical is a little reminiscent of paneling, which is very much a trend, a huge trend in 2025, and it will be in 2026. Now I know it's not stained, but it doesn't matter. It creates this illusion or this feeling of being updated in a manner that is current with trends. And that is important for overall perception of the home. Another thing that I love that we can use is the fireplace, because the entire interior is overall very neutral, we're able to bring in some character in this surrounds. They used a green stone, and because it's such a small square footage, you can easily go pick up a remnant, do it far more reasonably priced than you would think. And then we just have a very traditional mantle. I think there's also potential for there to be a stained mantle here, and I think that would bring some warmth and character that buyers are really craving. Impressions, this kitchen is gorgeous. It's still very neutral. We have white countertops, we have white backsplash with white grout, the walls are still white. All we've done is create a little contrast by bringing in a beautiful warm cabinetry color. This cabinet color, this sort of light tan, or honestly a very deep off-white, is a trend we've been seeing for a couple years now, but it still has life. And I think for a mass appeal, it's a heavy hitter. I would still suggest through 2026 utilizing a color similar to this. Many people I know I have in my last two houses have had a completely white on white kitchen. This is an easy update. If you're going to spend money anywhere, you can get the cabinets painted or do it yourself, but be careful, it needs to look nice. For relatively inexpensively, an ROI in the kitchen is huge. So this is a big win that I would suggest through 2026. Now I hear you already. Ugh, I'm so tired of beige. I'm over beige cabinets. I want color. Remember, we're working with mass appeal here. Because you love it does not mean that all the other buyers that walk through the house are going to love it. And it's a numbers game. We need the most people possible to love it. Does this kitchen look expensive? Yes. Can I see myself cooking in this kitchen? Yes. That's what's important. Another thing to take note of is the cabinet hardware. These cup pulls, they have heft to them. They have visual interest to them, and they're timeless. I really like the style of these pendants because they create some contrast. There's a light industrial feel to them, and they have visual heft, which is very nice. The only thing I would say is those are going to be best in a larger space. I think they look good here. It's hard to tell in a photo. They use their wide angle lenses. A slightly smaller pendant size could work wonders in making the space look bigger, feel more grand. And when you're walking through in person, which we have to consider, it's not going to break any of the sight lines to all of the windows on the other side of this island. So I think the size of the pendants that you use is very, very important. And last, this coffee bar moment. This screams that it used to be a closet. I want to point out that this is a huge ROI update that you can make in your home. There's so many kitchens that I've come across that have useless bifold closet doors in the kitchen. Put cabinets inside an old closet, finish it out with tile, and create a moment. You see they framed it out with some really hefty trim to make it feel like nice built-in that has some history to it. I think there's a huge ROI opportunity if your space could accommodate it. But I love that they mixed brushed nickel or chrome with their black. I think that's a really, really modern take because black is done. Like all black fixtures is over, it's curdled, it's spoiled, we're done. It looks cheap. Mixing that is the way to go. You can mix brass and black, and you can mix chrome and black. You can also mix brushed nickel and black. I don't think it looks as expensive. I think chrome, the shine against the black, is the way to go. So don't be afraid of doing that. Just ensure that there's some balance in it so that we've kind of got a light fixture in black, a mirror in chrome, a faucet in black. I think mixing and alternating so it's balanced across the room is essential when you're doing that, but I think it's a great way to go. One other thing to talk about are these spotlights. I think as a rule of thumb, can lights are always going to be the way to go in terms of mass appeal, and you essentially don't really see them. Make sure they're LED, make sure they're warm. We don't want bright blue, white light shining on us. And I know most people are anti-overhead lights, but when it comes to showings, it's important that the room is flooded with space. Create light that spreads throughout the space, which is really important, where these spotlights are going to only be directional and illuminate certain portions of the room. And the other thing is they look like they're about 8 to 10 inches hanging down from the ceiling, and that just brings the height of the ceiling down farther. And it's so important when we have buyers walking through the home that the ceilings feel sky high. Threw a couple spare bedrooms on here because I really like the lights that they have. Gone are the days where we have simple boob lights or the disc LED lights. At the end of the day, they feel boring. They don't feel expensive. Now, this is not at the top of the priority list in terms of where you spend your money, but a slight refresh of the ceiling lights can add a lot. If you're trying to take your home from good to great. So I want to go over a couple other really important considerations as you're looking at this listing. It looks like they redid everything from ceiling to floor. And when it comes to getting our homes ready to sell, we may not have that luxury. It may not need that, but it becomes a little more difficult for us to balance the old and the new. So when you're thinking about any of these updates, we need to balance existing hardware and the new hardware so that there's not a clash in metals. Other considerations might be the door style. For example, all the cabinets in the kitchen, they look new. They have a very modern door style. Hardware, handle, pull may not work as well with the door style that you have. We might have to work with those existing fixtures in your home instead of just copying and pasting this formula. So take the lessons, don't take the exact formula. So why this works? Overall, this is contemporary, transitional. It's warm, it has mass appeal, but it's cohesive. It's updated, move-in ready, and buyers don't have to think. All they know is, I could see myself here. So if you found this helpful, check the links below for more information on working with me and to download my tools. Some are free, some aren't, that make pre-sale prep faster, easier, and more profitable.